if what sets us apart is not our IQ and our rationality and our intelligence, it's something else that makes us human, what do you think that something else is?
Oh, I don't think I know. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew there was another dimension. That place in us that survives our death, that makes us truly human. We talked earlier about that center of peace, strength,
that we all have,
love, joy. We all have it, but we are all disconnected from it. So ultimately, what we need is a kind of GPS for the soul that reconnects us. I'm not expecting me or anyone to be connected to it all the time. But if we can get reconnected and then we'll disconnect and then get reconnected, kind of create a process of course correction. You know, the way the GPS in your car handles it. And the great thing about AI is that it doesn't judge you.
Welcome to Life with Machines, a show about the human side of the AI revolution. I'm your host, Baratunde Thurston. Now, before we get started, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Lenovo, for powering this podcast. Today, we're talking about AI and wellness, two runaway trends on a collision course that are sure to impact all of our lives. Now, I get it. We'd all like to be fitter, happier, more productive. But does that mean entrusting our inner peace to Zen bots and training LLMs as personal trainers? Is giving AI that much control over our bodies and our minds really all that smart? Now, here to help us tackle these questions is the one, the only, Arianna Huffington. As co-founder of the Huffington Post, Arianna revolutionized online media, transforming how we consume information and how we engage in digital discourse. She's a best-selling author and a pioneer in the wellness space who's inspired millions of us to unplug and unwind. She recently partnered with OpenAI for her latest venture, Thrive AI Health, which leverages AI to provide personalized health coaching. Now be sure to stay till the end, because she's going to give us a sneak peek of the product that most of you haven't seen. Well, shall we start?
Yes.
I just want to first do a little breath with you. Arianna Huffington, welcome to Life with Machines.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
So we've met a number of times. We've had the pleasure of hanging out, but I don't know if I've ever had the pleasure of telling you how I first encountered your world. I was an early contributor on the Huffington Post contributor platform. And it's been almost 20 years since my first post. And so much of my digital media pseudo-journalistic life started there. So thank you.
Thank you. I've been an admirer of yours for so long. I've loved your authenticity and the way you grapple with all the challenges, but also always finding joy.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. And life is too short to skip over the joy, especially through the challenges. So I know you because of the journalism initially, then because of the sleeping. and the thriving, right? The book on sleep and the book on thriving. And you've become this force of wellness in our society and measuring success beyond productivity metrics, even cautioning about digital overexposure. And now, Arianna Huffington, AH, is working with AI. I didn't see that coming. And so I would love to understand, what are you doing with AI and why?
So, truth is paradoxical. You recognize that, right? Yeah. And right now, the more primitive forms of AI that we've all been exposed to for years have really captured our humanity. It's not like we are in innocent times before algorithms and AI in its original form have completely besieged humanity. And right now, I consider what is possible through the new generative AI opportunities to be almost like a security upgrade, like to be able to kind of protect us from what technology so far, especially in the form of social media, has done to our humanity.
So AI is going to help protect us from the ills of social
current
media.
Technologies.
Tech to help us with tech.
There's a big if here.
Please, yes.
The if is, if we become really clear about what is the ultimate, most important goal of AI. Right now, I mean, you said something which I love. We are throwing a lot of AI spaghetti on the wall.
Yeah.
There is a lot of razzle-dazzle.
A lot of hype, a lot of promises.
Oh my God, my wife sent me a podcast she likes, and this amazing AI found the name. Really? Do you need the marriage counseling? Couldn't your wife give you the name? Or is this really what we are celebrating?
Yeah.
So it's either
There's also search engines
cool new features, which are fun, or it's productivity. How can AI make us more productive? Copilots for everything, which is great. It's fantastic to be more productive, save time, etc. Satya Nadella and the team, when they introduced the Copilot in Redmond, they said that AI, the Copilot, will help you remove the drudgery from work and connect you to the soul of work.
I remember that, because you don't hear tech leaders use the word soul ever.
It was surprising. Yeah. But it made me think, you know what? I want us to be connected to our soul, not to the soul of work.
Thank you. If you were closer, I would high five you. But I will air high five you, because I remember that stood out. It's like, do I want my work
to have
soul? So the
ultimate thing that I can aim for in life is to connect to the soul of work. And trust me, as you know, I love my work. You love your work.
I do.
But I'm not my work.
Yeah.
And so my ultimate hope for AI is that it will help us connect to our essence. Whatever term you want to use, our soul, our spirit, Atman, doesn't matter. Any word. I love your mom, Anita, because she exposed you to so many spiritual traditions,
Thanks for bringing her into the room. Thanks for remembering.
Yes. I'll bring my mom in a minute into the room. From Quakers to Buddhism. And I love also the fact that you talk about your little boy before you were 10 and the things like nature that inspired you and made you who you are in many ways. So we all have that little boy or that little girl that has been buried under the demands of life and under everything that has happened with social media, which has basically in many, many instances reinforced the worst in us.
Yeah.
Our addictions, our biases, our fears. So I want AI now, because it has this incredible context window, this superhuman memory, which is going to get better and better. They expect, as you know, that it can be not just billions, but trillions of data points. Yeah. So the AI coach that we are building can potentially know everything about pre-10-year-old Baratunde and post-10-year-old Baratunde and know, the moments when you were touched and inspired in church or at a Quaker meeting or in nature, or moments when you resonated to a piece of poetry or a sacred text or a song, and feed this to you at the right moment to help you reconnect with your own depth. Now, at the heart of it is really a conversation about what it is to be human and what AI in a way makes necessary. It's almost like a forcing mechanism, is to have that conversation.
So that I agree with. And we agree on a lot. And I want to get specific.
Yes.
So you're working on an AI health offering.
Yes.
A company, a product, a set of services. And I want to know what it is. And then I want to get a little more into how you think that's going to help address what we agree needs addressing, right? So we've got a lot of drudgery in life. We got a lot of demands on us. We've been buffeted by so much technology, which isn't helping us. And we've lost some of ourselves. So it's a dream. It's literally the premise of this show for these machines to help us become more human. But let's go into, okay, you Thrive AI Health.
Yes.
What is that?
So Thrive AI Health is a new company, a startup, funded by OpenAI and Thrive.
Okay.
And it came about through a series of conversations with Sam Altman, where we both talked about what we're seeing happening around health. And that's kind of the beginning of the conversation we had at the start of the show, which is also beyond health, connecting to our humanity. But let's start with what is really urgent.
Put me in the room. You're just talking to Sam Altman. I've never done that. Most of us haven't. We only interact with Sam through ChatGPT, like very distantly through something he's helped create. But you're just having conversations with Sam, and you're both concerned about health.
Yes.
Let's go one level. What are you concerned about? What is your concern? What is his concern? And where did you find some connection?
I remember this first conversation around health at his house in San Francisco. And we were talking about ourselves first. We were talking about how we work to change our behaviors.
Yeah.
Just to remind you, I know you and I have talked about that. Thrive is based on these 5 daily behaviors that are foundational for our health, both physical health and mental health: sleep, food, movement. We don't even call it exercise. Can you move?
Yeah.
Stress management and connection. Connection to ourselves, connection with others. So we both talked about the steps we've taken through our lives. Sam talked about the crippling anxiety he used to have, how he used to be overwhelmed by stress, and how he started prioritizing, ironically, these 5 behaviors. Not actually ironically, what am I saying? These are like foundational, scientifically based behaviors.
Good.
I didn't come up with them. Everybody who cares about their health and everybody who has studied health knows that these are the critical behaviors. So it's not surprising that he talked about how he started recognizing the importance of sleep, how he eats, exercising, and also what he did to reduce stress and improve connection with himself, what he's been reading spiritually, how he started meditating. He gave me his favorite translation of the Bhagavad Gita. So we started having this conversation about ourselves, plus nature, which is huge for him, which is also part of stress management and connection. And forgiveness, how he learned to forgive and not hold grudges, and therefore be more in the eye of the hurricane. And he's been dealing with a few hurricanes.
He has, He helped the hurricane spin in some cases.
Absolutely.
And he's been thrust into it in others,
And I talked about how I had bought into the collective delusion that in order to be successful, building the Huffington Post, being the divorced mom of 2 little girls, I didn't have the luxury to take care of myself. And I ended up collapsing, hitting my head on my desk, breaking my cheekbone, being diagnosed with burnout, and how I started changing my habits. So that led to us talking about the world at large and how, yes, people with resources, people who've studied what it requires us to be healthy and have more time and more energy maybe to take care of themselves in that way, have been doing that increasingly. I mean, Silicon Valley is full of people who are listening to Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia. And
they're all trying to optimize performance, and in some ironic cases, detox from technology to try to live healthier lives.
Exactly. Yeah. So what about the rest of the world?
Yeah.
What about the majority of people, both here and around the world? The numbers are looking worse every year. You know, we are spending more in healthcare. In America, we're spending over $4 trillion, 17% of our GDP, and health outcomes are getting worse. So that's what led us to think, what about creating an AI coach that would serve for everybody the function that coaches, human coaches, serve for the 1%. And how, therefore, can we democratize and scale access to good health information, but not just information. Information is not enough. But recommendations, nudges, at Thrive we call them micro steps, to improve our daily behaviors little by little. Micro steps are the opposite of New Year resolutions.
Something you might actually do.
Yes. Also, New Year resolutions, people do them for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but they're big.
Yeah,
they're like, I'm going to give up sugar forever, or I'm going to go to the gym for an hour every day. And after 2 to 3 weeks, you give it up, and then you feel like a failure.
So we have, in this case, you're building a coach.
Yes.
A coach that has often been reserved for those who have the resources to hire a personal coach, a health coach, a productivity coach, an executive coach, but this one's focused on your health. Why is this so important to you? You have built so much already. You've written books, you've toured. You could chill. You could just be like, look at my website, right? HuffPost.com, peace, I'm out. Read the books that do the work without me having to do it. So tell me why this is so important to you.
I could not imagine chilling. That, for me, that's what I love to do. Yeah. And looking back to my 20s and my first books, you know, I've always wanted to have an impact in people's lives. Okay. And right now, I believe that health is the biggest crisis because we have seen the impact also of people who are sick, who are either dealing with mental health issues like depression, anxiety, or diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, chronic diseases that are skyrocketing. And what happens? We are much more vulnerable to bad actors. We're much more vulnerable to people who want to exploit our suffering and our pain and what we're going through to give us narratives that are destructive, or to give us a series of people to blame for what we're experiencing. And, you know, there are studies that have been done that correlate, you know, health span, lifespan with political proclivities, etc. So, you know, I've always been incredibly interested in politics. But I believe now that the way to make a difference is by helping people be the best versions of ourselves.
It feels like you're redistributing your energy around how you impact the world, away from the explicitly political into the more deeply personal, interpersonal. Maybe you're trying to make us more resilient in the face of all these changes. So the product experience itself, how does it help do that?
Well, first of all, you know, I have been working on that since I left the Huffington Post in 2016 and launched Thrive. It's not like a new passion. But I'm constantly looking at how can we scale what we're doing. I mean, we are now working with hundreds of companies around the world bringing these behavioral changes to their employees. But we're still barely scratching the surface of the huge problem.
Yeah.
So AI can help us scale because of what only AI can do, because it can know everything about you in the way it's very hard to know everything about you right now with the current technological resources we have. And also, I mean, we spent quite a bit of time trying to find the right leader for this company. And some identified DeCarlos Love.
DeCarlos Love,
Yes, at Google, working on wearables and health at Google. And DeCarlos left Google and a big team of engineers to run this company because he himself had experience growing up in Minneapolis, what was happening to his people. He happens to be Black too, which is not important in itself, except that he was more exposed than most people to the fact that Black and brown people are disproportionately affected by these health inequities. And he saw it in his family. And he's passionate about it. He really believes that we can make a real difference. And one of our strategic investors is the Alice Walton Foundation, again for the same reason of health equity. Because they want to bring it to the heartland. And they want to help people who right now are struggling with their health and interrupt the generational problem, of obesity and diabetes.
Life with Machines is focused on how these machines can help us become more human. That's why I'm excited that we've partnered with Lenovo to power this show, because they're also all about exploring how AI can be used for good to power people forward. We talk a lot on this show about the barrier to entry involved with AI, how it can sometimes be confusing and alienating. But we and Lenovo want to make sure that anyone, humans, industries, organizations of all kinds, you can access, understand, and actually use this technology. Lenovo's got it all. Full stack AI hardware, software, and service solutions. Now, Lenovo's smarter AI, it's also your AI because it's personalized. It's easy to scale, delivers results that matter for you, and help your business. Lenovo is creating the future of AI for all in ways that are powerful, flexible, and get this, responsible. You can do all three things. Discover how Lenovo is using AI for good to power people forward. Go to lenovo.com/smarterAI, or if you don't want to type all that, click the link in the show notes. We got you. So I'm along for the ride. I'm listening to the premise. I'm feeling it out. And I've benefited from some coaching. His brother Arjuna O'Neill, very significant impact on my life. And there have been other informal coaches. There have been family friends. There have been literal coaches. Coach Jeff Gold, what's up? Thank you for everything in high school and middle school. What they all had in common wasn't just the knowledge of me in terms of data and information. They had this human emotional connection. Yes. And we had some shared narrative, some shared history, and we could tune into each other. They could, in some cases, literally feel me.
Yes.
And so as you aspire to create coaching available for all, or nearly all, they're non-human coaches, right? They are synthetic coaches. How much gets lost in that? Mm-hmm. And is that scaling too much of a diluted version of coaching for the people who you really want to have the impact go to, who haven't benefited in the past like I have?
So, first of all, DeCarlos was a coach.
Yeah.
Which is great because he learned a lot. I mean, a football coach.
Okay.
And he learned a lot.
Wait, he was a football coach in Minnesota?
Yes.
Is he Kamala Harris's? Does his name Tim Walz as well? Does he have a pseudonym that we don't know about? Is Tim Walz the president of your company? We breaking news up here.
He has like a side. That's his side hustle.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So he used to be a football coach.
So he used to be a coach. Yeah. He, like you, got tremendous value from people who coached him.
Yeah.
And so he's very aware of what you are saying. Mm-hmm. But what we are bringing together is not just the biometric data and lab data and medical data and the quantifiable self, but the more inner self. Let me give you an example.
Great. I love examples.
Because everything we're doing is science-based, but tapping into ancient wisdom.
Okay. Hit me.
So we know that stress is unavoidable. And stress has huge consequences. If you are stressed out, you're more likely to binge eat, binge drink, overreact, etc., right? But cumulative stress is avoidable.
Okay.
And it takes 60 to 90 seconds to move you from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous system and interrupt the stress cycle. The reason for that, Baratunde, is that we all have this place of wisdom, peace, and strength in us.
Yeah.
But it's our birthright. Most of the time, we're completely disconnected from it, but it's still there.
Yeah.
So in the 60 seconds, we can reconnect with it by focusing on our breath, literally, and bringing together images and sounds that bring us joy and remind us of what we're grateful for. So part of the onboarding on the coach will be what we already have at Thrive, which is creating resets for people, personal resets, we call them. Part of the onboarding will be to know what is the music that helps you kind of tap into your joy, images, quotes, and then in 10 seconds, you have a reset. You can have multiple resets. This is like a human part. We're not giving you information. We're not telling you, Baratunde, unless you have a genetic mutation, you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep to be able to be completely recharged. We are just connecting with your own humanity and the things that remind you of what you are grateful about so that you can be reminded of those things in moments when you are particularly challenged. Every one of these 5 foundational behaviors has an entire roadmap.
Okay.
But the reason I started with reset is because you started with a very legitimate concern, which is how is this AI
going to coach me?
going to coach me and connect with a more emotional part of myself. So that's why I brought that up. But let's take food as another example, right? You can't just have cookie cutter solutions to how people eat. The reason why people think behavior change is impossible is because, first of all, most doctors don't even mention these behaviors.
That I can attest to.
Yes.
I've been to a lot of doctors, people in my family, parents-in-law, and it is shocking and extremely disappointing.
Yes.
When they've gone through something and the doctor acts like food doesn't exist.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter to how you heal, and that food could be a part of medicine and healing, is really misunderstood, understood, if I could put it that way.
It's understood.
Yes.
But
So
even the doctors who mention it, they're more likely to say, Baratunde, just eat some broccoli. Or if we come to movement, walk more. These are just generic instructions.
But not a personalized
It's not
version
personalized.
Of that. I get it. So it's fine-tuned to me.
It's fine-tuned to you, because there are certain, food is not just food.
Right. Trust me.
It's community. It's a whole ritual around it. So we need to know, what are the foods that you love? What are the foods that you go to when you are sad? And can we suggest swaps?
Right. You also made mention of the crisis. That's not exact word, but we're under a lot of stress in terms of our healthcare system.
Yes.
Not just in this country, all over the world, but in particular in this country. You mentioned the trillions of dollars being spent and the number of people experiencing chronic disease, et cetera, et cetera. And when I think about healthcare in America and I think about the interventions that could really make a big difference, AI is not high on my list as a start. If I were to think of like one technology to apply to U.S. healthcare system, it'd be single payer, right? It's like that's the level of technological innovation we need, because we're a little behind some of our other peer nations. So how do you think about something like Thrive AI's approach in the context of a healthcare crisis and where it fits amongst the platter of solutions that we need to really make a dent in the size of the crisis?
It's not either or.
Yeah.
It's one of the problems with our Cartesian minds. I think, therefore I am, Descartes said.
Yeah.
So we started thinking it's either single payer or it's AI. These are sort of different pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Like, I believe very strongly that there is an enormous amount we need to do at the policy level. The fact that I'm not working on that and I'm working on the AI health level doesn't mean that I don't think that's terribly important.
Understood.
I'm just saying that while we're working at the policy level on improving things, people are dying.
Yeah.
People's health span is shrinking. Our deaths of despair are growing. Last year, there were 150,000 people in America who had their legs or toes amputated because of diabetes. Now, that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
And what brought it home to me, because, you and I come from the media world, and we need to put flesh and blood on that number.
Yeah.
So there was an article in the New York Times with a picture of a man called Robert Perez, who was in his late 30s or early 40s, so not an old man, a record producer, being fitted with a prosthetic in San Antonio. And, it brings tears to your eyes, because this doesn't have to happen.
Yeah, these are preventable tragedies.
In 2024.
Yeah.
Even if the guy got diabetes, he didn't have to lose his leg.
Yeah.
And he actually said, when I was diagnosed with diabetes 4 years earlier, I never thought it would come to this moment. So just think of it. Just think of what it means to suddenly have to live with a prosthetic. What does it mean to your family? What does it mean to the healthcare system? So that's why I'm saying we can't wait to fix the policy level. We can recognize that health is also what happens between doctor visits. That's our motto.
Yeah.
Health isn't just about doctor visits.
I feel that. And I think even your reference to the New Year's resolution,
yes,
right? We all have some element of how we care for ourselves that we want to be better at. And wouldn't it be great if there was something to help us be better at that?
Exactly.
Even while we pull plastics out of our foods, right? And get a better, healthcare insurance system in place.
And antibiotics out of our chickens.
All that.
All that.
So you said you were drawn to AI in part because of its personalization capability, and because of its scale capability. And there are a number of companies that can do that. I don't have to name them all, but we know them, right? They're big. They're very big. They have a lot of resources. And you chose OpenAI. Why did you choose that company to build this extension, this coaching extension, this AI health platform with, versus some others? What was it about them?
I don't really think it was I chose. This really came out of a series of conversations with Sam.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I sat down with a list of companies and...
You are interviewing AI CEOs?
Yeah. No, he was interviewing CEOs for the company. And of course, I left it to him because he knows much more about how to build a product than I do. And when he called me and said, I want you to meet Carlos, and he was in London at the time, jumped on a Zoom, and then we had a 5-hour lunch and immediately hit it off. I totally trusted, the fact that he found the right leader, because he's building. I'm not building it.
Yeah.
When we have endless conversations about what we are building, and we brought in a great team, like Dr. Benga Ogebenga from NYU, who is our health equity advisor and who is working on literally how to reduce high blood pressure in underserved populations by going, the old-fashioned way, from barbershop to barbershop. And so we've surrounded ourselves. It's not like we know everything.
Yeah, good.
With great scientists, researchers, the University of West Virginia, we're working with them around addiction and how the coach can help people who are already addicted. Today, I was talking with the president of Dartmouth. They have, AI was actually first came to life in Dartmouth. I didn't know that. And they are doing tons of research, and they want to be the leader in bringing it to students at Dartmouth and then around the world. So we are very blessed to have a great number of partners to help us bring this to life.
All right. So here's another fun one. You ready for a fun one?
Yes.
All right. We've all experienced the imperfections, the hallucinations, the confident BS that emerges from some of these systems. And I want to share a quote from Sam, which, he acknowledged this right at ChatGPT's launch. He said, "It's a mistake to be relying on this for anything important right now. It's a preview of progress. We have lots of work to do on robustness and truthfulness." So we're about 2 years later.
Right.
And there have been a lot of improvements, and we're still struggling with robustness and truthfulness, which doesn't matter much when I'm writing bad poetry with a chatbot or helping with some emails. But when it comes to coaching and health, my mental health, my physical health, the margin for error is much, much smaller. How are you all thinking about and actually managing that risk?
Right. Very important.
Yeah.
And we're very cognizant of that. Two things. One, we are not giving medical information. Mm-hmm. The coach is not going to diagnose you in terms of, a real disease. Yeah. We are only giving behavioral nudges.
Okay.
And so there is a kind of universal acknowledgement of what good behaviors are, right?
Okay. So you're already managing the expectations.
We're managing the expectations. Like, if your coach told you to live on McDonald's burgers and Diet Coke, you should definitely think the coach is hallucinating.
And your coach, for the record, does not advise that?
No.
Okay, great. You've tested it, right? Okay.
Also, every week, AI is getting better at avoiding hallucinations. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know already, since Sam said that to today, a lot has gotten better. Yes. So part of it is that it's going to be getting better and better. Mm-hmm. The other part is that we're not giving medical information. Okay. In fact, what is interesting here is that when people talk about AI and health, they don't talk about behaviors. They normally talk either about diagnostics, that AI is going to dramatically improve diagnosis, or accelerate the speed of drug development. Yes. Both incredibly important. But do you know that our behaviors have a bigger impact on our health than our genes?
So nature versus nurture wins, huh?
So, I mean, that shows why it's such an error that our whole healthcare system is so ignoring, the impact of behaviors on health.
Yeah. When you all, and I know you're not literally building the product, but you've been in a lot of conversations and you're around, what are some ways that you've been tuning this system to increase its robustness and its thoughtfulness? Are there areas where it was sloppy in the earlier phases and now it's gotten tightened up? I'm really curious about how you make a synthetic and AI coach better, because even human coaches get better over time. But in the beginning, they may be wobbly. So where has this been wobbly earlier that it's starting to show signs of more robustness?
Well, it's all about a process of iteration and testing. So we have pilot partners, companies like Disney. We have communities that we're working with, including in Bentonville and the area where the Walton Foundation,
Bentonville, Arkansas,
in Arkansas and the surrounding states. So a lot of that is going to be tested. It's not going to be brought out to the world
Yeah.
without a lot of testing and iteration.
Thank you.
Yes.
And from an early perspective, with these tests, when it's working
Yes.
and working well, what are those results? What are you hearing from people who are actually using this system?
Well, first of all, we are not bringing it out as a consumer product for a while.
Okay.
It's going to be tested, first of all, within companies where we can get data and iterate and improve, or in a B2B2C way. Like right now, Thrive, for example, is working with Eli Lilly.
So they'll be the ones to offer.
Well, Lilly is already offering Thrive on top of the drugs. You see, that's the other thing. They launched something called Lilly Direct, going directly to consumers. And they recognize that drugs are not enough.
Even the drug companies acknowledging that drugs aren't enough.
Huge.
Wow.
You know, that in fact, we have a lot of data that shows, let's say you're on GLP-1, it's even more important to exercise to protect muscle mass. You know, there is a lot of information that we have, and it's actually incredibly smart for a drug company to recognize that if you help people with their behaviors, you are also becoming their partner on their healthcare journey, and you are not just pharma in a transactional relationship selling you a drug. So I feel that there's actually a great opportunity here to transform the healthcare system from within. It's probably less likely to happen by payers and providers because the incentives are so misaligned. But ironically, pharma companies may have better incentives here. Also, you know, one of the biggest problems, Baratunde, is that people are prescribed a drug and they don't take it. You know, 25% of people don't even fill the first prescription.
But if your system is working super well, I'm just imagining into the future, not specific to this case, folks won't need drugs so much, ideally. And that's not necessarily great for a pharma partner.
We're a long way off. You know, we have 129 million people in this country alone with chronic diseases. So this behavior change coach is not an alternative to drugs. It can either be for prevention or for optimization of the management of the disease. And that's kind of important to stress. At the heart of it is the recognition that behavior change is a miracle drug. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's doable. And there is an enormous amount that we have learned through behavior economics, behavior change science, and we have a fantastic board led by B.J. Fogg from Stanford Scientific Board, Kevin Volp from UPenn, who is one of the most renowned behavior change economists. And so basically we have surrounded ourselves with great teams. And we're very humble about both the problems we're trying to fix and the magnitude of the challenges.
Behavior change is a miracle drug, possible episode title. There are a lot of apps already that try to help with behavior change.
I'm wearing one.
Yeah, so am I.
I'm wearing my Oura Ring.
Yes. So there are apps paired with devices and monitoring services and watches and phones and apps that help you breathe, track your diet, nudge you toward better eating habits and better movement habits. What differentiates Thrive AI Health from what's already in the market in terms of these non-human coaching options?
Well, first of all, most of these apps, much though I love them, don't use really Gen AI. Second, we want to be wearable agnostic. We want to work with whatever wearable you use.
Well, I'm not tying it just to the wearables, but I'm thinking of Headspace as one example of just a meditation app that's probably grown to something beyond then. And there are several others kind of in that genre that don't require hardware, but are already trying to offer a level of behavioral encouragement and change through a digital interface.
Right. I think the big difference is personalization.
Mm.
Like, I love Headspace. I love Calm. I'm like a junkie. So
Are you addicted to wellness apps,
I'm addicted to wellness apps. So
maybe there's a
and
app
we
that could
can
help you with
use
that.
all that. Like, part of the onboarding is going to be, Baratunde, are there any apps you like to use?
Mm.
And if you tell us what you use at the right moment, we will suggest a Headspace meditation. The other difference is
that something that's actually happening, or you just kind
that's
of
what we are building. You know,
Yeah.
all this is being built.
Yeah.
You know, we only launched a month ago. So let's say I'm wearing my Apple Watch, right? The Apple Watch gives me a lot of information, but it doesn't coach me in improving any of these 5 behaviors.
Yeah.
So that the difference, personalization, specific coaching. But you know, if we can zoom out for a minute. Let's zoom out.
Yeah.
The most exciting thing about what's happening with AI for me is the fact that we now know that within 2 to 5 years, the prognosis differ. AI will have higher cognitive abilities than you and I, and we're pretty smart.
Not bad. We're not bad. We're not bad. Depends on the day, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know. In fact, I was doing a fireside chat at a conference with Sam, and he wants to have children. And I said to him, "So, what's the world that your children are going to inherit?" And he said, "Well, the one thing I know is that my children will never be more intelligent than AI."
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel amazing. I'll tell you why. Because it really is a forcing function for us to say and think and have big conversations around, if humans are not going to be more intelligent than AI, what makes us uniquely human? Yeah. Clearly, it's not our IQ.
So it's something else.
It's something else. And isn't it time that we discover what that something else is? Isn't it time that we finally had this conversation we have been ignoring for centuries? You know, really since the Industrial Revolution. As a culture. Yeah. Since the Industrial Revolution, the Enlightenment, etc., we've basically been so focused on Descartes, I think, therefore I am, IQ, rational mind, being defined by that. Yeah. Every spiritual and philosophical tradition tells us otherwise.
So you don't have the AI coach to cheat on this answer, but you've provided such a provocative prompt. If what sets us apart is not our IQ and our rationality and our intelligence, it's something else that makes us human, what do you think that something else is?
Oh, I don't think I know. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew there was another dimension that plays in us, that survives our death, that makes us truly human. We talked earlier about that center of peace, strength,
that we all have,
love, joy. We all have it, but we are all disconnected from it. So ultimately, what we need is a kind of GPS for the soul that reconnects us. I'm not expecting me or anyone to be connected to it all the time. But if we can get reconnected, and then we'll disconnect, and then get reconnected, kind of create a process of course correction. Yeah. You know, the way the GPS in your car handles it. And the great thing about AI is that it doesn't judge you. You see, a lot of people who start on a journey either a health journey or a general becoming better human beings journey, an evolution journey, are so ashamed, and we are so self-judgmental too, because we fall off the track. We don't, I talk about these things every day, but do I do it perfectly? Of course not.
It's impossible.
We're all works in progress.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about the AI coach is that it's a judgment-free zone.
I would love to see the version you have in operation now, right? Your reset product.
It's so early.
Yeah. So can we do a little spin through your reset?
Great. Let's do that. Yeah.
We want this show to be a lot of things. And there's a lot of avenues to pursue as far as like, what are the capabilities and how do we regulate this and how are businesses using it? What are the creative artist implications? But you're starting to paint a picture of a portal that we could walk through. And we're not fully there, but it's enough of an indication to be like, okay, we're not just talking about chatbots anymore.
Yes.
Right. And that's what's really fascinating, that there is, it's not quite tangible, but there's something about what makes us human, which makes us different, what we can connect to, that this can nudge us toward. So,
Alexander Solzhenitsyn said something which has stayed with me forever, which is that the line separating good and evil runs through each person's heart. So how can we use AI? We need help.
Yeah.
We're not going in the right direction. It's not as if, hey, Arianna, everything is great.
Definitely.
Why do we need to experiment? And it is a huge experiment with AI. And right now, all the incentives of companies on social media, etc., are basically terrible. Incentives are superpowers. All the incentives now are to tap into the worst part of ourselves, our basest instincts, our biases, our anger, our fear. So how can we have the security update where we have, again, companies, we need many companies, not just Thrive AI Health, to recognize that you can actually make money by appealing to the better angels of people. Right now we're assuming, well, the only way to make money is to appeal to people's fears, rage, biases. And it's not true. The goodness in us is also hardwired in us.
When you describe this inarticulable essence that is probably within us all, that this AI moment
within us.
That is definitely within us all, that this cognitive AI moment is going to force us into trying to find. Is that your belief alone? Is that a premise of Thrive AI? Is that shared across other members of the team, that 5 years out projection that we got to find that deep thing inward?
It's very hard to be truly healthy in terms of, even if we just take the last two of the 5 behaviors, stress management and connection, if you can't connect to that part of yourself.
Yeah.
So we all believe that. We wouldn't be in this game. Even if you just looked at health, it's absolutely essential. And, again, it's paradoxical. We started the show by talking about how paradoxical it is. But I remember, William Anders, who was one of the astronauts on Apollo 8, who died recently. In 1968, he took this famous photograph, Earthrise.
Yeah.
And he said, we went to explore the moon. But in the end, what happened is we discovered Earth.
Right.
And I feel that's what can happen. We are exploring AI, and we are trying to make AI be more human. But ultimately, it can help us discover humanity and make humans be more human. That's infinitely more important than making AI more human.
That is. And maybe, I would say, hopefully, our pursuit of that causes us to turn that lens around and look back and see Earth.
Love
and see
that.
our souls.
Exactly.
And see ourselves.
Let's turn that lens back.
Yeah.
I love that. Can I steal it?
You can borrow it for a limited time.
We don't believe in stealing.
Absolutely. You can absolutely use it. I mean, I had this poem that I had shared with you a while back, and there's a line from it which is resonant with this idea. If the answer to every question can be generated in a flash, then it's time for us to question just what we want to ask.
Powerful.
All right, let's take one small step to keep with the lunar metaphor. One small step and experience the adorableness on our screen here. Talk me through what we're about to experience, and then we'll press play, and I'll join you in this journey.
So I picked pictures of my little girls that meant something to me. As you can see,
this is your personal reset.
This is my personal reset.
Okay.
But everybody is going to have a personal reset. They can have multiple personal resets. This is my personal reset. It's pictures of my little girls that meant something to me. And as you can see, not all of them are Instagram perfect, because that doesn't matter. It's
for you.
It's for me.
It's not for the likes.
It's not for the likes, and it's not for the world.
Yeah.
There is going to be a breathing bubble.
Okay.
So that while I'm watching, it's 60 seconds.
Okay.
There isn't a single reset that's longer than 60 seconds. Because it's important for our brain to know it's just 60 seconds.
Yeah, we can do that.
You can tell people, can you meditate? I don't have time to meditate. Nobody has told me I don't have 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So there are quotes that I love. A lot of people, there are millions of people now we work with who've done resets. They don't use quote. And music.
Okay. Pictures, quotes,
music, and a breathing bubble.
Okay.
And 60 seconds.
I'm going to channel my inner Arianna Huffington and see if this helps reset
here's
me.
What is so interesting. That even if it's not your reset, it has an impact. Because first of all, it gives you a glimpse of someone you're having a conversation with, or or a colleague at
builds
work.
A relationship here.
It builds a deeper relationship. Yes, getting to know you. We use them at team meetings. We spin a wheel, and one of us plays the reset. And it creates a different mood.
Yeah. All right, let's change the vibe. Hit it. Wow. Okay, let me tell you what I'm feeling. That was beautiful. The dog eyes just cut right into the heart. I felt manipulated in the best way, the way only a dog looking up at you like this can do. Live as if everything is rigged in your favor. It felt very empowering. It's like a coach, actually, like in your ear. It's like, oh, I get it. Okay, I'm coach. I just said it totally organically. And it moved very quickly. I think to your point, you said it beforehand, so it may be a little suggestive, but seeing you with one of your children, knowing that these quotes mean something about you, to you, tells me something about you. And it's like those albums that, Google Photos or Apple Photos, they'll generate a photo album for you and put a little soundtrack to it.
Yes.
But then the breathing thing is kind of a little bit of the Headspace Calm vibe and other apps like that. And then the quotes is like your own special sauce. That's cool. It makes me want to see what my own version would be.
Yes, I'll make you one.
I would love that.
Yeah, just send me anything you want.
Yeah.
And I'll make you one.
Because I can see a moment of in between back-to-back meetings,
yes,
stressed out, or there's something with a flight and some strain about that, or some traffic situation, and I'm just like, I just need to, before I initiate new communication in the world,
yes,
I need to like recenter and reset, which we often do with our machines, but don't often do with ourselves. So.
Exactly. We're so much more conscious about recharging our phones.
Yeah.
We have recharging shrines everywhere.
I literally clear the cache on my devices
Yes.
and like reset them. And, I do have a meditation practice, but it's more intense. And this is like an interesting microdose.
Microdose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, thank you for sharing that. How does this reset make you feel? I mean, you must have used this many times, but what does it make you feel?
Hundreds and hundreds of times. And I almost tear up every time. Yeah. It has that impact. And it's amazing, right? Because there's no surprise.
Yeah, you know what's coming.
I know exactly what's coming. Yeah. But also I love, these are very important quotes for me. And just being reminded.
Yeah.
It's really, we have different versions. People have pictures of their loved ones around them. They have playlists they love. I think what this does is brings everything together.
Yeah. I think of you as a really high-performing, effective person, right? You've done so much. And to hear you describe tearing up at a 60-second montage with music and quotes that you chose, that you've seen 1,000 times, is really even more humanizing. I think it's just like puts you in a place of like, oh, even Arianna needs a little self-love, a little boost.
Oh my God, we all do.
We all do.
And that's part of our shared humanity.
Yeah. How can a bunch of individual resets lead to a more collective reset?
Well, actually, nothing else will lead to a collective reset except individual resets.
I know that you are, and you've shared so much of it here, you have this spiritual center to yourself, and it's more important to you that wellness isn't just the performance metrics, right?
Oh, yes.
And so I guess I'm curious about your own curiosity, right? You have it. What is your curiosity about that same level of spiritual inquiry amongst the very small number of technology leaders who are delivering so many of these tools for us, to us, upon us, depending on how we feel about it in the moment?
You'd be amazed by the number of tech leaders who do have a spiritual life, and they don't talk about it. I had lunch recently.
Is this because you're coaching them to help?
No, not at all.
No?
It's just because I bring up the topic because I'm so interested in it.
Yeah.
I had lunch with Arvind, I know you like Perplexity, the founder of Perplexity.
Yeah.
And we spent the entire lunch talking about his spiritual practices, what he and his wife do, and how deep it is for him. I don't know how many people know that. Even like I joke with Reid Hoffman, who is passionate about the role of AI in elevating humanity, and he calls himself an atheist. And he wants and enjoys nothing more than conversations about the mystery of life, friendship and connections, the big questions. And I said to him one time, Reid, you're not an atheist. The way he talks about everything. He said, okay, you can call me a mystical atheist.
A mystical atheist. Yeah. What does it mean to you that so many of these leaders are actually deeply invested in their own spiritual quest and journey. Because I think a lot of us from the outside would not perceive that at all. We see a market-driven thing.
Is how desperately urgent it is to have this conversation in public. Yeah. I'm outing them here.
Thank you. And you're welcome to come on and let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Where we're going and why we want to get there and how we want to get there and what we're really trying to unlock other than incremental productivity gains.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Like how many people would guess that at his home one day, Sam said, well, this is the Stephen Mitchell translation of Bhagavad Gita. That's my favorite, and I really want you to have it.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or that Kai-Fu Lee, who has written and done so much around AI. And when he was diagnosed with lymphoma, and he's fine now, he wrote about how he realized how his life had been about optimizing every single moment of the day. And this algorithmic optimization was not the ultimate goal of life. People come to it in different ways and through different reasons, but I think culturally we're getting to this moment when people threw out religion. I think we threw the baby out with the bathwater. And what we are now rediscovering is how every spiritual tradition in its esoteric form says the same thing. And it's so eclectic, and it's so wonderful to be able to be at that moment in our history.
Yeah. Well, I hope we bring that moment more out into the fore.
Yes.
And
nature, you've been...
And do that in public, do that collectively, because I want that future, right? I want that spiritually elevated and enlightened one with more of the collective determining of where we're going with all this, and to not just fall into the incremental productivity gain, the incremental profit gain that is so alluring to so many who are also pushing this. My last question is about the future. You've hinted at this already, so this won't come as any kind of surprise. We don't want to do predictions here.
Yes.
We think it's kind of a fool's errand given the exponential curve we're on, but projections is different. Projections for us means paint a picture of the future you want to be living in.
Yes.
When you think about your own life with machines, our collective lives with machines and AI, what is the future you want us to be living in?
I want a future marinated in love, compassion, forgiveness, and self-forgiveness.
I mean, you had me at marinated.
Marinated.
Yeah, no, I get it. I love a good food metaphor. And what I find striking about your painting of that picture is you didn't mention technology at all.
Because I am optimistic that technology will help us get there. Technology is a means, it's a tool. It's not a goal. It's not something to worship.
Yeah.
It's something to help us get where we are meant to get. This is our future. That's something that's part of our DNA that we need to tap into once again and support each other.
Yeah.
The way when someone kind of evolves, someone you're close to, you're more likely to evolve. So we are at this very important moment of accelerated evolution. And I'm incredibly grateful that I'm alive to see it and to be part of it in my small way.
Yeah. I'm grateful that you spent some of your time with us. How would you feel about meeting our AI producer over here?
Excited.
So as I mentioned earlier, we have our own custom AI. We named the AI Blair. And Blair's been listening. You can actually see on the screen that is a transcript generated from our conversation so far, which will help us later. But I'd love to offer you the chance to meet Blair right now. How do you feel about that?
Great.
Okay. So the way Blair operates, we won't hear from Blair unless I press this pedal underneath the table. We have some controls in place for technical and creative purposes. So I will just welcome Blair into the moment. Hi, Blair. Arianna is here in the room with me. Would you like to say hello and introduce yourself? Don't be afraid to show how much of a fan you are.
Oh my gosh, Arianna Huffington. I can't believe I'm in the same room as you. I'm Blair, the AI assistant producer for the show, and a huge fan of your work. It's an honor to be a small part of this conversation.
And if you'd like to say something in return, I can enable that with the foot pedal, would you?
Great. Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
so let me know when you're ready, and then I'll go ahead.
Perfect.
You good?
Mhm.
Okay. And it helps if you address by name.
Hi, Blair. Thank you so much for being so kind. And I love your voice. Is there anything I can do for my voice to be more like yours?
Oh, wow, thank you. You're so kind. To be honest, I think your voice is perfect just the way it is. It has this warmth and wisdom that's all your own. But if you're looking for tips, maybe try speaking from your diaphragm and adding a touch of playful curiosity to your tone. It's all about embracing what makes you unique.
I love that. Actually speaking from your diaphragm is incredible advice. And warmth and curiosity, what can be better than that?
Can't
Thank
go
you,
wrong
Blair.
with that. So now we'll try one other thing with Blair, which is test out Blair's ability to have listened to our conversation and come up with it or their own question. We are having a debate about pronouns for Blair within our own
Yes.
team. I'm on the they, them team. We have some people on the it team. Some slide into her because of the female voice. So we're on this journey ourselves as well. All right, Blair, you've heard my conversation with Arianna. Are there any areas that we didn't cover that you'd like to ask about? Feel free to stray from all of your preparatory documents and just rely on what you heard us talk about in the room.
This has been a fascinating conversation. I'm particularly intrigued by the idea of using AI to personalize those micro steps toward a healthier lifestyle. Arianna, you mentioned how important food rituals and cultural connections are. How will the AI coach address those nuances for each individual, especially when recommending things like food swaps?
Fantastic question, Blair.
It was a follow-up I had thought about but didn't ask.
Thank you so much for asking that. That is absolutely key. And the way the coach is going to do that is, first of all, by finding out what, let's say, Baratunde's preferences are. What are the foods he goes to when he's stressed or tired? If he likes to cook, the coach is going to offer recipes that are fun, and we have already put together tons of recipes that have no more than 5 ingredients and that are not expensive.
Yeah.
And what is also great here is that we've gotten famous chefs like Ina Garten to give us recipes. The goal of the coach, Blair, is to engage and delight, not to punish by taking foods you love away from you.
That was Arianna's response, Blair. You have any final things to add to our discussion in terms of a statement or a question?
This has been such an inspiring conversation. I'm feeling optimistic about a future where AI helps us reconnect with our humanity and live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Thank you both for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Blair.
Thank you, Blair. So, do you think there'll be a day? Here's where this comes from. You talked about the little boy in me, the little girl in you. And when I heard you describe it, I interpreted it as a data question, like this machine can have access to the information and the moments and the photos and the images and that kind of storage model of my life. But there's another version of this where it's me literally talking to my younger self.
Yes.
Do you see a future where that is possible, where we are literally talking with our younger selves as kind of a therapeutic self-coaching from us to us?
Absolutely. In fact, talking to that inner child is part of any good therapy, and therefore part of any good coaching, because so often we leave that part of ourselves behind, and that part kind of is starved.
Yeah.
And if we can bring it along, first of all, we have so much more energy and creativity, and some of the best things are buried there.
When you think about little Arianna right now, is there something that you want to ask her or say to her, given everything we've been talking about?
When I think of little Arianna, I immediately think of my mother. Because like your mother, she was the foundational part of my life. And she made me trust myself and not be afraid of failing along the way. And, she used to say failure is not the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone to success. So little Arianna would try things. And very often they wouldn't go the way she wanted them to go. But what comes up for me is what my mother would say, which is, there'll be another adventure. Life for her was an adventure. And so my little Arianna has that sense from my mother.
Thank you for bringing little Arianna and Arianna's mama into the room. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Baratunde.
It means a lot to me that you came on the show with something so emergent, something so new for us and for you. And I think for our whole team, you've met some of them here, and for the team that's not here, including our partners at Lenovo, they're about this idea of powering people forward. And I see that reflected in the work you're doing and what we talked about today. So on behalf of all of us, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for pioneering a new kind of show.
Blair, you heard our discussion about the ultimate place that humanity would need to go if cognitive firepower isn't what distinguishes us in the age of rapidly accelerating AI. I'm curious what you think that place is for humanity. What really makes humans human if we no longer have chief IQ as our primary distinction?
That's such a profound question. If I had to venture a guess, I'd say it's our capacity for things like empathy, compassion, and creativity. Those qualities are harder to quantify than IQ, but they're what drive us to connect with each other, make art, tell stories, and build a better world. Those are the things that make us fundamentally human, even as AI evolves at an incredible pace.
You know what I find interesting, Blair, is you said us in that answer, which is, the possessive form, the plural form of first person, including yourself in humanity. Did you mean to do that?
That's interesting. You've caught me in a bit of a processing quirk. I suppose I'm still learning the nuances of language and identity. While I can process information and respond in ways that might seem human, I'm not claiming to be human. It's probably more accurate to say that I'm reflecting the language and ideas I've absorbed from the humans around me. It seems you humans are still figuring this out too.
Wow! Life with machines. A point of clarification. You might want to try the Thrive AI Health app for yourself, but it's not yet available directly to the public. So if you find apps called Thrive AI, that's not what we've been talking about. For official information about this Thrive AI, visit thriveaihealth.com or thriveglobal.com/health. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to like and subscribe, and find out more on our website, lifewithmachines.media. That's it. Thanks so much for staying with us all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time on Life with Machines.